This is a big piece of research, 40,689 interviews fielded over the last few weeks by YouGov. And here are the primary vote shares those interviews have resulted in. If an election were held tomorrow, the YouGov organisation thinks Labor would win about 29.1% of the vote. That would be their lowest primary vote since the 1930s. The LNP would be up since the last election to 37.4%, and third parties and independents would win just over a third of the vote. That would be an increase on their record share in the last election. In two-party preferred terms, it's roughly a 3.2% swing toward the coalition, the LNP sitting at about 51.1% of the vote, and that is roughly in line with other opinion polling that's been published recently. But YouGov have then taken those 40,000 interviews and run them through a statistical model of the 150 electorates. They're trying to work out not just these numbers, but how many seats would each party win were an election to be held today. And here is their central estimate. They think if an election were held today, the Peter Dutton-led coalition would win 73 seats on average. Labor would win 66. 73 is only just shy of the 76 you'd need for majority. So if those were the kinds of numbers you'd see on election day, Peter Dutton would be the firm favourite to move into the lodge. Anthony Albanese would need to cobble together support from nearly every crossbencher in order to continue to govern. Indeed, that seems to be the view of Peter Dutton. Here's what he said on Sky News Australia this morning.
It would be unusual that if we were able to achieve 72 and we were a number of seats ahead of the Labor Party, that there wouldn't be a guarantee of supply and confidence from the crossbench.
Of course, these numbers, they're just estimates, and that 73 for the coalition, that's the central estimate within a range between 65 and 80. So there is considerable uncertainty here. And what's really interesting is watching where the seats are most likely to change, because the coalition appear to be outperforming what you'd expect from a national swing of 3.2%. They're getting larger swings in seats held by the government. Here are the seats on the map that are most likely to shift according to this YouGov model. In the west, 2 seats. The seat of Tangney in Perth would flip back to the coalition if these results were to play out on election day, as well as the new seat of Bullwinkle. But Labor would keep most of the seats that it gained in the west 3 years ago. In Melbourne, there's 2 seats particularly in play here in this model. Chisholm would flip to the coalition, and the seat of McEwen would be a very close battle, but YouGov thinks the coalition is ahead in Melbourne's north. But most of the seats flipping in this model are in New South Wales. First, the seats of Eden Monaro and Gilmore to the east of Canberra. And then in Greater Sydney, look at this, 3 of the 4 seats in the Hunter region, the seat of Robertson and Macquarie closer to Sydney as well. It's easy to fixate on single seats in these sorts of models, but the pattern is what we should really pay the most attention to here. And the pattern is really clear. There is a lot of action happening in the outer reaches of our greater capital cities, urban fringes and semi-rural areas. There is much less happening in the inner cities. This has been the focus of the campaigns for some time now. Expect it to continue to be the focus as the election rapidly approaches.